You've got to be absolutely crazy to believe the Federal Reserve right now, clear to us and clear to our customers, is you cannot hold and save in dollars anymore. The days of 2% inflation are over. Bitcoin is the only monetary instrument in the history of our species that is fixed. Things that I can only value as my life and my Bitcoin.
Oh man, so Jack Mallers, the CEO of Bitcoin payment gateway Strike, has just given a CNBC interview where he backs Balaji's bet that Bitcoin could exceed $1 million in 90 days. We're going to break that down. We're going to go through what he says because he claims that hyperinflation is real. One of my favorite people in the crypto space, even though he's a bit of a Bitcoin maximalist. Let's get straight into it. So the anchor's going to kick off by saying that the banking crisis is deflationary. In the 2010s, it wasn't inflationary. There was no signs of hyperinflation. Remember, hyperinflation is 50% inflation every single month. We're sitting at that 5-6% inflation per annum. So what is making people say that this is how crazy it can get in just the next 90 days?
Or put it to you this way, a banking crisis is deflationary. And so when I see Balaji and others saying Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million, it may go up, but that may be because of the Fed's response here. The 2010s were not hyperinflationary. There's no obvious reason why now would be hyperinflationary either.
Yeah, so Kelly, it's actually not that complicated, and I'm excited to try and convey that to America. There's a market term that's used here in Chicago a lot, is demand finds supply. What do I mean by that? If Ken Griffin is going to want to buy the most expensive condo in America, someone will build it for him. Someone will put a 201st floor in Miami's tallest building. If silver's going to 1000x, I will walk into my kitchen right now. I will melt all my silverware and I will sell it at market. If gold is going to rally, Elon Musk will find more on Mars. Bitcoin is, this is a super important point, Bitcoin is the only monetary instrument in the history of our species that is fixed. It does not matter how much more demand comes into the asset class, Kelly. No one will ever be able to make more of it. There are two things I can guarantee you in my life. One, that I'll die, and the other, that there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. And those are what's the two.
You gotta love this guy. So for those who aren't familiar, 21 million Bitcoin written in the coding. You cannot change it. Doesn't matter what your incentives are. You cannot change it. And moreover, we already know that 4 million of those are irrecoverably lost. So really, you're talking 17 million Bitcoins available. There are 62 to 63 million millionaires globally. So if every millionaire decided they just want one Bitcoin, they can't. They'd have to have a quarter each. That's if they just wanted to hold a little bit. That's not even if they believed in crypto. So if they saw that inflation was getting out of control, they just wanted to hedge a little bit and have a little bit of Bitcoin. Every millionaire could only have a quarter, assuming everybody else has none.
Things that I can only value as my life and my Bitcoin. So it is the only fixed supply asset, Kelly. It's not that complicated. It's going to go up because everything else can be issued more. Does that make sense?
Why you've got to explain to me one thing. Why is the supply fixed? And is that because someone says it's fixed?
This is what we're dealing with in traditional finance and the establishment. They just don't get it. They want to claim they get it. They want to put forward regulation. Channels like CNBC will keep putting out hit pieces when they feel like it, right? When it suits their agenda or it's going to get clicks and views and watches. But this shows fundamental lack of basic knowledge on crypto. You know, it's just such a basic question. Go Google it. Why are you wasting Jack Mallers' time on this on live television?
It's because it's written in the software and the software is distributed. There is no one person to ask. There is no one person to trust. The whole decentralization, is it decentralized so that you could put pictures and NFTs on the blockchain? Is it decentralized so that you could fix gaming? No, it's decentralized so that the defendants of the monetary policy are distributed, is so that it's a network of computers that actually defend the policy and the instrumentation of the monetary asset. That is not the case for Ethereum. That is not the case for any other altcoin. That is not the case for the US dollar. That is not the case for Miami real estate. That is not the case for precious metals. It is the only monetary instrument that has its monetary policy distributed and defended in a sound way.
Forgive me for being dense,
so
but if you say that, that it's because this is the way the software is written and it is immutable, it is unchangeable. Why couldn't the software be rewritten, or why couldn't the authors of the software or the guardians of the software write a new software that creates Bitcoin 2.0 with another fixed supply of Bitcoin?
Yeah. So Tyler, I run Bitcoin software, and someone tried to do this. I want you to Google Bitcoin Cash, after this interview is over.
Hey, Google it
Someone said, I want to
yourself.
change the rules of Bitcoin. I may want to create more of a supply. I may want to make it faster. I may want to make it do a backflip. I may make it want to store pictures of monkeys drooling on themselves on the blockchain. And they created it, and they created new rules, and they called it Bitcoin Cash. It's a different asset. It's a different instrument. And when someone tries to pay me in it, my software rules that I run in my home in a room over there says, nope, that's invalid. That thing is a piece of poop, and I don't accept it because it is invalidating the rules of the system that were set out by Satoshi Nakamoto over a decade ago. So you can create whatever you want. You want to create FedNow coin, flip a Dookie coin. I don't care. There's 21 million of the things that I run and that I protect and that I save in. And those rules were started a long time ago. And that's what the network runs. So if you change the rules, you're creating a different monetary asset and a different instrument. It doesn't matter.
Now check this out. This is where it gets interesting.
It's clear to us and clear to our customers is you cannot hold and save in dollars anymore. I think that there's going to be a new era of the US dollar where inflation will enter a normalized 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%. The days of 2% inflation are over.
What if you're wrong, Jack? Because the market, as you know, the market is telling us we've gone from having, expected 3.5% inflation last year to just over 2% now for the next 5 years. Again, it's it doesn't see inflation accelerating and picking up from here. Look at the swap lines we just instituted over the weekend. It reiterates the dollar's dominance in the global financial system. And if anything, we're going to be averaging inflation for the next decade that probably looks a lot more like the 2010s we just came from. It was not inflation. And Bitcoin still did very well, by the way. It was not an inflationary period.
So what she's referring to here is that inflation expectations on the 5-year are coming down. They're now sitting at around that 2.1% mark. This is saying that most people are expecting inflation to come down. So in that regard, why are you expecting hyperinflation? Why are you expecting inflation to start going back up again? What she's failing to understand is that the printing is happening back again. The money printer has been turned on despite inflation still being 6%, despite the steepest rate hike we've seen in 40 years. Yes, on top of that, she refers to the liquidity swaps, which we spoke about yesterday, where they've changed the frequency that central banks can access this liquidity swap feature from weekly to daily, further heightening public opinion that things are going wrong with the banking system, and that's going to lead to risk on assets moving up.
It was not inflation. And Bitcoin still did very well, by the way. It was not an inflationary period.
Yeah, but Kelly, these swap lines and treating these assets at par that these banks are holding is a load of crap. It's a politically correct way. The swap lines over the weekend were a politically correct way going into an election year for the Federal Reserve to bail out foreign big institutions and not take care of the little guy in the United States of America. Those things aren't trading at par. If they were trading at par, when I walked down to my bank on the corner and I said, I want my money, they'd be able to hand it to me. They can't, Kelly. So this is just a masquerade load of nonsense. If they have to backstop these things with new money, and you're seeing risk on assets, you're seeing scarce assets actually be big winners here. So you could call it inflation because the CPI is a load of nonsense, right? Like the government's going to tell me how the dollar is inflating based on a basket of instruments. Like my Netflix subscription or my Caesar salad doesn't actually tell me how well the dollar is doing or how much it's being devalued. Miami real estate does. Bitcoin does. Bitcoin's up over 50% this year.
Yeah.
You're telling me that the dollar's not inflating? You're out of your mind. I'm not listening to that. The Fed and the whole monetary system is based on trust, and they constantly break that trust. It'd be the equivalent of there's a fire outside of my house. I smell the smoke, and someone's telling me, no, it's just a bunch of teenagers putting on a bonfire. Okay, but I hear one siren. I hear one police siren.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's a bonfire? Yeah, it's a bonfire. Now I hear 10 sirens, 100 sirens. Now my whole community is running out. I'm not going to get up and look outside the window, Kelly, and see what's going on. I don't believe them for a second. You've got to be absolutely crazy to believe the Federal Reserve right now. They're full of it, and I don't have to because I own Bitcoin. There's no one that could deflate my instrument. I get to hold it, save in it. I know the monetary policy. I sleep like a baby, like the baby face that I am.
Jack?
I think you're crazy if you believe the Fed and these swap lines and treating these assets at par. It's a gimmick. It's a scam.
What a legend. Look at the confidence with which he's speaking. And that's the confidence that Bitcoin gives you. When nobody can control your money, your assets. And remember, you've got to hold your own keys for this to be the case. If you're holding it on a centralized exchange, all your net worth, it could be in Bitcoin, but if it's on a centralized exchange, you won't have that baby face sleeping well at night, right? You've got to hold your coins. And when you do have that, and you hold the one truly decentralized, immutable currency there is